Hello, welcome back to Circuit Place. Today's video is one I'm very excited about. This is one of the new Snapdragon X Elite laptops. It's the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7X, and it's one of my favorites. It's an excellent value, as you'll see here in a minute, and has incredible performance besides being very well put together. That great Lenovo keyboard. There's not a whole lot of things not to like about this laptop. So first off, the ergonomics and the build quality. It's an all aluminum build and it feels good in the hand, not very much flex at all. It's very solid, holding it from a corner. You can open it with one hand, so that's always nice to see. And it's very lightweight, about 2.8 pounds. So you won't hardly feel it in your backpack or your bag if you need to take it around, if you're a student or you work away from the office a lot and you need to fly around, things like that. So it's a great travel laptop, but overall, very nice feel in the hand, great build quality, good ergonomics. The input and output is also good. It's not as flexible as I'd love. So you only have Thunderbolt 4 ports or USB 4 ports, 2 on one side. I've got my little magnetic adapter on that one, and 1 on the other side. You don't have any HDMI, you don't have any USB-A, no card readers, so that's a bit of a bummer, but you get a lot of flexibility from having all 3 ports support USB 4, so that's nice to see. But as far as the input devices, incredible. The keyboard, one of the best you'll find on a laptop, and that's of course due to that ThinkPad DNA heritage that Lenovo has. The touchpad is also excellent. It's a glass touchpad. I will say, in the era of the MacBook haptic trackpads, and now that Surface is starting to do it, I'm always going to prefer a haptic trackpad, so I wish this was haptic. But it's one of the better glass ones, and so it's hard to complain about it. And like I said, the keyboard, excellent keyboard, great key travel. It's one of the nicest keyboards you'll find in a laptop to type on. It's backlit, and it works very, very well. So input and output is incredible. Also has a touchscreen. So it is an OLED display, and it gets up to 1,000 nits in HDR brightness, 500 SDR, so very bright. It is glossy, so you get those sharper colors that pop more, the better contrast. It doesn't have as much glare as the LG Gram Pro 16 OLED I tested recently, but it is going to have a little bit more glare than a MacBook Pro and then a matte screen would have, so just be aware of that. But it's touchscreen, so you get that as well, which is very, very nice. In terms of the battery life, it's incredible. Now, that's to be expected with these new ARM Snapdragon chips. If you don't know anything about them yet, they are a new, kind of like the competitor to Apple's M chips. Windows finally has a solid competitor to that. It's Qualcomm. They've been making the flagship processors in Samsung smartphones for many years now, and now they're finally making laptop chips. Very good ones, I might add. So it's a great entry into that space for them. So real world battery life, you're looking at 14 hours and 15 minutes. That's incredible. That's the longest I've tested so far in the several laptops that I've put through that same battery of testing. So you can expect more than a full day of battery life on this thing, and that includes some heavy usage in that 14 hours. In terms of the intangibles, to wrap up the user experience, it's just a fun laptop to use. Again, it's lightweight, it's sturdy, it feels good to the hand. It's got a nice cool aluminum touch. The keyboard's amazing. It's got that touchpad or the touch screen if you want to use it. The hinge is very sturdy, but it's not too firm. That's easy to open with one hand. So overall user experience is excellent. Out of 100, I gave it a 93. This is a very, very fun and good and nice laptop to use. In terms of performance, this is where it stutters just a bit, and that's due to it mostly not having dedicated graphics. For web browsing, it did great. Speedometer and normal web browsing, a 92 out of 100. Productivity tasks did great in Geekbench. And again, if you haven't watched my videos before, I combined the AC benchmarks with the battery benchmarks because it's a laptop, and so you're going to be expected to use this thing on battery power. In the past, Windows laptops have really struggled on battery. Their performance used to drop significantly. However, with this one, these new Snapdragon ones, you don't see that as much. But either way, I combine them and average those scores, and that's what I go off of. So productivity, web browsing, excellent. In the 90s, it's going to be a speed demon for those tasks. Creative workflow is where you start to get a bit of a mixed bag. So again, it doesn't have dedicated graphics. The integrated graphics on the Snapdragon X Elite chip that this has, which is the 12-core version, although it's the lowest end 12-core version. If you know anything about the nomenclature, it's the X78, so it doesn't have the dual-core boost, but it's still the 12-core. At any rate, it does not have as good integrated graphics as Apple's M chips do. That's the one weakness against Apple's M chips. So for creative workflow, it's a mixed bag. In Cinebench R24, it did very well. Combined score of 1038. Very good. It's going to beat out the M3. I think it's going to get close to, maybe beat out the M3 Pro even by a bit. However, in my DaVinci Resolve test render, it's a 4K test render with several effects and different tracks, things like that. It did not do that well, 2 minutes, 7 seconds. To put that in perspective, the Asus G14 that I reviewed recently did it in about 35 seconds, almost 4 times faster. Now that does have an RTX 4060 dedicated graphics card. So that shows how, depending on the tasks, you will see performance take a hit because it doesn't have that dedicated graphics. And then AI performance, kind of surprising it didn't do that well. 2887 on the Geekbench machine learning CPU score combined. Again, that's about a fourth of what I got out of that RTX 4060 G14. Microsoft has been touting the whole Copilot Plus PC thing with these Snapdragon chips. So it's again a mixed bag. I hate to say it that way, but depending on what you're doing with AI, you might find it has very good performance, and other tasks it's going to be very limited because a dedicated graphics card is still just going to be better for raw horsepower when it comes to AI. And then gaming, as you would imagine, it's not great. It's passable depending on the games you play. It's fine. I run a Company Heroes 2 benchmark test because it's cross-platform, and the combined frames per second on a 4K low setting test was 24 frames per second. So you could technically play that with strategy at 24, but you wouldn't want to. You want to see at least 30. But that being said, I emulated Command & Conquer 3 Kane's Wrath, the expansion game, which I've enjoyed playing recently, and it does that at 4K, all the settings maxed out except for aliasing, and that almost maxed out without any hiccups. So I was really impressed with that. So again, gaming, you might be able to do what you want to do with it. If you're a heavy gamer, probably stay away. Performance, a mixed bag. Out of 100, it gets an 80. And then lastly, value. And here, again, this thing does very well. Right now, you can pick this up in the base config, which has 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte SSD from Best Buy for, I think, around $1,200, and sometimes they run specials. Straight from the Lenovo site, it's the same price. I will say, this has the 32 gigabytes of RAM and the terabyte SSD. I got the upgraded version. They are very affordable upgrades through Lenovo's website. I think it was a total of about $100, $120 to get both of those upgrades. Highly recommend that you do that. So you're looking at a total cost of about $1,300. And with that kind of user experience and that kind of performance, that's a very, very good value. And then I also do something called power to weight ratio, because I don't think light laptops get enough credit when they have good performance for how light they are in offering that great performance. I think there's value there, just as there would be to a car, right? So the power to weight ratio, the value here is at 91 out of 100. It's very high because, again, you're looking at 2.8 pounds, and it flies through productivity tasks, flies through your normal web browsing stuff, and some creative things it's great at. Everything it's passable. It's going to be passable with everything. So for such a thin and light laptop, that's impressive. And then resale value, it's always going to be a little tricky with Windows laptops to know that. Apple laptops tend to have a more consistent resale value, although they have dipped in recent years a bit. But this is Lenovo. It's a good brand, it's a well-known brand, and it has very good build quality, and it's this new type of chip. So it should be relevant for much longer. So resale value, 75 out of 100. I think you should be able to get a decent amount for it, selling it 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, depending on how long you keep it and what condition it is when you put it up for sale. The last thing quickly I didn't mention earlier is the speakers. It has 4 speakers, and they're nothing to write home about. They're not going to have the bass or the soundstage that a MacBook Pro will, but they are very decent, passable, tuned by Dolby Atmos. You're looking at good speakers. So honestly, there's not really any weaknesses to this laptop. Yeah, if you're a heavy gamer, skip it. If you know you're going to be doing a ton of 4K, 6K, or 8K video editing, skip it. But if you're looking for an incredible all-around laptop that checks all the boxes and does so incredibly well, has a gorgeous OLED panel, good speakers, an incredible keyboard, good trackpad, very lightweight, speedy. The fans hardly ever come on. I don't know if you noticed, they haven't turned on yet. Unless you're doing heavy lifting, they just don't come on. Even when they do, they sound good. You probably know some laptop fans just don't sound good. It's a great overall package. So out of 100, this thing gets a score of 87. It's very, very good. It's definitely a recommend. I would highly recommend you consider it if you're in the marketplace for a laptop that is thin, lightweight, has good performance, has good longevity, and you travel a lot or want something that's not going to be super heavy to lug around. 87 out of 100. It's an excellent, absolutely recommend you checking out this laptop. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it's been helpful for you. If it has, please subscribe and you'll see more reviews of laptops like this, competitors to it, and alternatives if you want something with more graphics or video editing capabilities, etc. Like the video if you appreciated it, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.